We will call this meeting to order. We have quite a few presentations before this roll call takes place, as we just went through an election.
Okay.
And just follow you. Do so.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, having been elected
I, Jeff Vanderstill, having been elected
to the office of Village President,
to the office of Village President,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
the duties of this office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Walshliger, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, having been elected
I, Ann Walshliger, having been elected
to the office of Village Trustee,
to the office of Village Trustee,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my abilities,
To the
so
best of
help me
my-
God.
abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
shake this hand.
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name, having been elected
I, Robyn Ludtke, having been elected
to the office of Village Trustee,
to the office of Village Trustee,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my abilities, so
to
help
the-
me God.
to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand for me and repeat after me. I state your name, having been elected
I, Rick Connor, having been elected
to the office of Village Trustee,
to the office of Village Trustee,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and
Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. And now, as all members of the board have been sworn in, may I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Trustee Anson.
Here.
Trustee Doro.
Here.
Trustee Meyers.
Here.
Trustee Walshliger.
Here.
Trustee Ludtke.
Here.
Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Vanderstill.
Here. At this time, if you'd all rise, take off your caps, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Anson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As is customary, if anybody has items, public comments for items that are not on the agenda, you can step towards the podium at this time. Seeing as there are none, the first item we have is a presentation by Chief Dean, our fire chief, related to the overview of the fire department operations. Chief?
Hello, good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. Dave Dean, Fire Chief. I handed out a pamphlet packet to you prior to the meeting. Just wanted to go through a few items that I had missed on Saturday. I was down in Indianapolis at the Fire Department Instructors Conference and was unable to get here. So just wanted to make you aware of the first sheet in your packet is the mission statement of the Hartland Fire Department, followed by the vision of the Hartland Fire Department. And just for the public that wants to I want to remind them of our mission statement. The mission of the Hartland Fire Department is to provide the best, highly trained and responsible members to protect and save property and lives in our community. The vision of the Hartland Fire Department is to continuously advance our team of emergency personnel through higher education, experience, and resources in order to be a leader in delivering emergency services to the Lake Country area. And we take those very seriously. We train extremely hard and work very hard at our jobs, and it is an honor to steer the ship that they all row. Tonight they're down at the DPW. We have a simulated car accident involving a semi-trailer where we have some cars crushed underneath the trailer. They'll be doing their best to get out. The next item in your booklet that I gave out was just a highlight of our fire and ambulance budget for the department, and it lists the firefighting budget first. It goes right down the list with salaries. I won't bore you with each and every detail there, but where the monies are allocated, and our total firefighting budget being $386,485. And then we get down to the ambulance service budget, and talks a little bit there on how we spend our money and what we allocate it towards, with a annual ambulance service budget of $609,025, giving us a total fire and ambulance budget of $995,510. And then I have a little graph below. It spells out where that money goes: wages, benefits, operations, and capital outlay. So, and I'm always happy. I'm always available. I guess 24/7 would be the right thing to say. So my number is always available. You can always contact me, preferably during the day hours. Would be great. But, any questions that I could always answer. And then the last one on that packet is our vehicle replacement schedule. And we have done a fantastic job of getting caught up and getting our equipment up to date with the requirements of today's firefighting world. As you know, we don't just do firefighting extinguishment. We have lots and lots of prevention. We're called upon to do many, many more duties than we have always had in the past. We're in really great shape with the new truck coming this October. It was previewed down at FDIC in Indianapolis for the world to see, the world's largest fire department instructors conference, and it was a highlight of the show, again, as our last truck was as well, which is quite an honor for the Village of Hartland and myself as the chief of the fire department to have two vehicles attend this show in 3 years. It's unheard of to have one there. It's very rare, but to have two there really says a lot about the men and women that designed it and took the time to develop and think outside the box of things that we may need. So the purchases, we're not looking at another purchase for a vehicle at the fire station until 2023, which would be the replacement of an ambulance, and then it goes out to 2027 and 2029. So we're in really good shape with vehicles and equipment, and to get to this point, we have sold and combined two vehicles to one, and we've done that twice now in order to help maintain and streamline our services. And then the last packet that I have for you there are just the highlights of 2018. And again, where I referenced earlier about we don't just put fires out and we don't just rescue people. In 2018, we responded to 641 ambulance calls, 230 fire calls, for a total of 871. And I'll just briefly get some of the highlights here. At fire inspections, we performed 1,226. We successfully completed our first year as a paramedic service. We had newly appointed officers, held an extensive interview process to appoint a new fire lieutenant, an EMS lieutenant, and a safety officer. We added full-time staffing, another paramedic and an administrative assistant, who's been outstanding. We had 29 classes come through our fire station for fire prevention, a total of 625 kids. We hosted 2 special needs classes, which is fantastic. 10 students from Stonebank and 4 students from Richmond that spent the day with us learning about fire safety. Numerous fundraisers, numerous community events, hands-on CPR, Stop the Bleed. We taught first aid to 22 second graders. And I know you can all look at it, but I wanted to also let the public know the things that we do. CPR to community, businesses, teachers, the police department, Tiger Scouts, held a couple of fundraisers. Our pizza deliveries was phenomenal, our second annual. We did our second blood drive and pancake breakfast, the extrication fundraiser. We raised over $5,000. We had an Explorers Club, which we started encouraging younger people to join the fire department, and it's off and running at a rampant pace. They are really excited. This gets kids that are under 18, between 15 and 18, to join and get to know our fire department and know the things that we do. It's a great opportunity, and then we hopefully recruit them as they get older and turn 18. We try to get them into classes. We're jointly got the EMT class in the curriculum at Arrowhead High School. As a senior, there is now an option to take the EMT credential class and become a state licensed Wisconsin EMT as a high school senior, which was a few years in the making. Actually teach the class right at Arrowhead. Many public relations event. Our fire department is committed to the village. They love the village. They love the events that we're involved in. We continually have things going on almost every weekend, during the week and weekend. Recently, Saturday, we helped and assisted with the river cleanup, which was phenomenal. We've flown our flag. We love our flag. We love our village and our country, so we fly our flag a lot, and we fly it at a lot of sporting events. The Legion get involved with Touch a Truck, the street dance, homecoming parade, HFD movie night, where the kids come to see a movie in the fire station. It's really a great outreach program for us to encourage, and it gives us an opportunity to educate them about fire safety. Have you been to the fire station? So lots of kids come down every year, and we're always interested to educate them every chance that we can. Even if we have a call, we had a oven fire the other night, and the street was lined with children, and we took that opportunity to show them the truck and talk to them about fire and smoke detectors and crawling low. So we never miss an opportunity, or try not to miss an opportunity. Our extrication team is known countywide, statewide, and has competed in national competitions. Some of the memorable calls there for fire, we scrambled trucks and personnel for a possible tornado touchdown. 4th of July, we had a tree come down that the 3 chiefs, myself and 2 others, were underneath when we heard the cracking. We took off running, came down right where we were standing, so that would have been another historical day in Hartland. The couple of fires, we had a bomb scare, a couple of flooding buildings, but a couple of memorable EMS calls there as well. Chainsaw accident came into Julie's door while we were out on another call, so she got to do some triaging and first aid. But we're functioning very well at the fire station, and we're always happy to serve and be involved. And we love, as I said, the village, and we love the residents. And we're always open to new ideas and suggestions. And if there's any questions at all that we can ever answer on things that we do participate in or would like us to participate in, would love to hear that. Is there any questions that I could answer now for you? All right. Well,
Thanks, Chief.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
As you read through the information, if you see anything that you want to know more about, please let me know. Be happy to see you at the station. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a consideration of a motion to approve the village board minutes of the April 8th, 2019 meeting.
Also move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from April 8th's meeting. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is a motion to approve the vouchers for payments in the amount of $414,876.18.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers for $414,876.18.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers. Any discussion on the vouchers? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next items coming up here are considerations of actions related to the licenses and permits. We have Bartender operators licenses that expire June 30th, 2020. This is for Liana Janney, Logan Torres, Bethany Orgavan, and Caitlin Chesser. Bethany, if I said your name wrong, I apologize.
I move we approve the 4 bartending license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those licenses. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those licenses are granted. That passes. The next, we have a street use permit for Lake Country Bed Barn. This is a sidewalk sale. 365 Cottonwood Avenue is the address. This is for Saturday, August 24th. The setup starts at 8:30 a.m. The event runs from 10 until 3 p.m., and everything will be cleaned up by 4 p.m.
Hi, this is our third.
Could you state your name?
Oh, sorry.
and-
I'm Elise Miller, owner of Lake Country Bed Barn. This will be our third time hosting outside vendors in downtown Hartland. Seeing that we moved locations, since we moved, the street closure has changed from what it has been in the past to accommodate our location change. So, I don't know. We, last year we had about 60 businesses involved, including downtown Hartland businesses and vendors that attended the event. And it was well attended. The streets were full of people, so.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions?
It's a great event, too.
May I ask, as you
Yes.
and I exchanged some emails about access to the salon adjacent to Hoggers
Yes,
and whatnot, that's kind
my-
of in the zone?
My original plan was to close, on the map that or screenshot I took of the map there, was to close up to the access to the senior living facility, but the salon had expressed that they would not like their parking lot blocked on a Saturday in the summer, which I kind of guessed was going to happen. So actually I was out there this morning and I walked it off. I think will be sufficient to stop at their driveway and have people come in from the other way. And then I do hope to use the parking lots as well. And then is the grass area between the parking lots, is that village owned or?
It is owned by the village, yeah.
It wouldn't be okay for cars.
Right. No, but if I had vendors placed on there.
To an extent, I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
If you're getting real heavy trucks, it's just you wouldn't want to have that
We
grass
don't
just thrown
allow them
out.
to bring vehicles in.
Okay, so this would be just people standing there for the
Yeah.
day. It might do some,
Tents.
Tents, yeah.
might do a little wearing on the grass, but for the event, I think it'll be okay by that time. That'll be pretty much set in.
And that's really just if I can't fit somewhere
Sure.
I already have.
Sure.
Jeff offered to open up his parking lot, which, as I looked at today, too, is going to bring up a lot of space as well. So I think we'll be fine. If we get 60 vendors, we'll be more than okay.
Okay. And so the salon, to answer the question, the salon will have access?
To their parking lot, yeah.
So you're not using Pauling at all for vendors?
No, I will be. I will be closing from Cottonwood up to where the salon's parking lot is.
Oh, so the people would have to come in on the side road?
Yep.
Okay.
So I did talk to her about that. She just didn't want people, if it was raining, a bride running to her vehicle or something like that.
Where do you want the vendors to put their cars?
Good question. We have parking behind our building. I was planning on talking to Oak Creative in the Miller Marriott building to see if we can have vendors park there as well. I don't think people are really gonna come on Pauling that way and park that way. So I also would offer that up to vendors as well. I think people are gonna stop on Cottonwood.
Just throw out a suggestion on the parking.
Sure.
When those vendors come and set up, this is for regular vehicles, obviously really, really long vehicles, this wouldn't work. There's a path that goes from Nixon Park up
Yeah.
to right where you're at. So if you had them parked
Park
down
at
at Nixon
Nixon.
Park, after they've set up, they can walk up the path and then you're not clogging up where people might
That's
park
good,
that
too.
are
I
coming
like
to
that.
your event.
That's good.
Just tossing it out there.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I think if you could, when you do figure out where you are gonna tell the vendors they have to park, could you please pass that on to the administrator or the clerk? Just so that, we know, because that would be tough for the people that are coming to the event if all the vendors are just parked right there. So definitely, kind of
Right.
decide on that.
Yeah, well, once we lay everything out.
There's also a municipal lot down right across the street from the front door of our municipal
Yeah,
building.
yeah, and that's where we told them to park last year
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Yeah, I thought if I could get those businesses that aren't open on Saturday to use their lots, then I
Right.
would be good too.
Yeah. Any questions from the board?
Anything else? No? All right, I think I'm up next too, so.
I believe you're correct. So that is something that's a discussion and possible action.
Right, so it would be appropriate to have a motion to approve the street use and the use of the grass.
Right.
I make motion.
to approve the street use and the use of the grass.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow that permit for the street use and for this event. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item that we have is this is a street use permit also. Am I correct on this?
No,
No.
don't close the street.
You do not?
No,
Okay.
it's more FYI, I think.
We have the neighborhood.
Let you know what's going on in Hartland.
Okay.
Our
We have
annual
the,
Hartland neighborhood night out. Yes.
okay. Go ahead and take it away. Why don't you explain first?
So this is our sixth
Oh my
year,
gosh, I don't even
fifth
remember.
year.
Yeah.
Running Heartland Neighborhood Night Out. We do it in conjunction with Kelly's. Helps do a video at the end, which the fire department, Dave was just here discussing his annual movie. This will be the second time he's hosting the movie at the end of the event.
Yeah.
So starting at 5:30 at businesses in downtown Heartland, open up their doors and have like an open house type event where activities are available for families to come around and visit and get to know other businesses in downtown Heartland. Desmond Transport Company has agreed this year for the second time to provide a shuttle for free for customers that are coming around, and there is a band.
We will have having, my name is Kelly Yogers, I'm the recreation director for the Village of Hartland. It's Thursday night, so it'll be part of our Thursday night concert series. So I believe it's the Hartland Community Band that will be playing in the park that night from 7 to 9. And as Elise said, the rec department is responsible for the movie. Heartland Lakeside School District is sponsoring the movie. They're paying for the movie. We're greatly appreciative. I think they've done it every year since we've done this, pretty
For
much.
this event?
And like she said, it's going to be hosted by the fire department. It starts at 8 o'clock, and this year it's Mary Poppins.
Questions on that? That application isn't in the packet. We're good with that, right?
Yeah.
The application.
This
isn't
is
in the
really, as they noted, this is really primarily a notification. It's certainly fine if the board wants to take an action to approve. The park board has approved the park use. The fire department, of course, is showing the movie. The only street activity is by a licensed bus, essentially.
Okay.
Shuttling. So there are no real special permits that go on here. Certainly, it doesn't hurt if the board wants to make an approval for the use of Nixon Park for the Heartland Night Out.
Okay. All right.
But it is the concert series, so that's really mostly going on in the businesses. It's the concert series that goes on, so.
What I was saying to the administrator was that there wasn't our typical form for a permit, but this isn't necessarily what this is, so it was my confusion and no one else's. When I click on that, I'm like expecting to see it, and I'm like, okay, you talk.
There's nothing there to
But I will leave it up to the board if they want to, okay that use. There is not necessarily a need. It's already been approved by the park board, which they have their jurisdiction there, so.
Good job.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
All right.
So the next items are referred to us from the April 15th, 2019 Plan Commission meeting. We have items related to a proposed rezoning of the property at 345 Cottonwood Avenue. We have a public hearing that is open, so this is a continuation of the public hearing to receive comment regarding the proposed rezoning from B3 Central Business Mixed Use District to RS3 Single Family Residential District. Again, that is for 345 Cottonwood Avenue. It's also my understanding that this would be the proper meeting where that public hearing, which is still open, so if anybody would like to come forward and speak from the public, because I will close it shortly. It's appropriate.
Yep.
If
I
that
don't know if the
doesn't,
petitioner wants to, she's.
if you'd like to speak,
Well, I really don't have anything to say. This is clear enough that I'd like to have this.
can you give your name?
Rezoned. I'm sorry. I'm Donna Coots, owner of the property at 345 Cottonwood. So I'd love to see it rezoned to residential. It would be a great savings money-wise for me, for us, if it were residential, because everything seems to cost more when it's commercial. I'd be able to have it maintained a little bit better than it is now. I don't like it when there's, mailing on the front lawn that I don't catch and things like that. We tried to sell the property as commercial, no buyers for it, always negative comments about the configuration of the rooms. So they'd have to spend $50,000 to $100,000 to get it to be what they would need to use it for commercial. So we abandoned that after about 2 years of being on the market. So we think we'd have better luck if it was residential for our case. And really, residential, we're looking at pretty much at least a 10-year period that we would be using it as, for sure, residential.
For your own residential or renting?
No, not renting, for our own use.
Any other public comments within the public hearing? At this time, I will close the public hearing, okay, which will lead us in, and you can stay there, which will lead us into discussion and consideration on the third reading of a bill for ordinance number 225-2019-01, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the Village of Hartland. So,
My question is, how much is it costing the village to change this?
I don't have that answer. I don't know how much.
There isn't really an
There's no fee.
expense.
And so here you have somebody that owns a piece of property that is, falls in line with some future plan where somebody says, we're gonna use this property for this, we're gonna do this, and then the owner of that property is locked into it. I just have a real hard time when the government tries to tell us what we can do with our own property. And if there's no expense to the village, but it's gonna make our citizen comfortable with that, but they're gonna have to know whatever you do with that property, if you come back to want to change that back, there is an expense to come back to rezone it.
That's what they're doing right now. They came to us in 2002,
If
wanted
they,
it rezoned.
if they decide, if we vote to, okay, let them go, so they're not, and, change that zoning.
But that's what you're saying.
That's what he's saying.
Huh?
That's what he's, continue what you're saying.
And so
I'm telling
then
you that's what they're doing now, is coming back and saying, now we want to switch it back.
they want to switch it back, right, and that doesn't cost us anything.
I'm not saying it does not. I said I do not have those numbers. I haven't received
Okay.
anything to
But
look
I guess
into
what
it.
my thing is, it's really, I see it costing them money if they want to change it in the future. And change it back to the way it is today.
Okay.
And so,
How was it
some,
when it was originally purchased? What was it zoned as?
Let's,
The original purchase?
it was residential and it was
was
rezoned
residential.
business.
As a house.
No, I mean, how long had they owned it?
Yeah, when you purchased the property, what was it zoned as?
It was commercial for, I think it was a few years before that.
I'm so confused. So it was commercial when you purchased it?
So it was residential, somebody rezoned it to commercial, they purchased it as commercial.
Commercial.
And it was built, though, as a house. And it
Right,
does look
right,
like a house.
I understand that.
And very nice looking house, I think. It's been empty, though, for 2 years?
It's that empty, except for a temporary tenant that was in and out of there on the second floor last year. But other than that, it's been empty since 2016.
So is the tenant utilizing it for business or utilizing it for residential?
Residential.
So that property has not been occupied in any way, shape, or form since 2016 on a long-term basis?
Right.
Nothing over 2 weeks?
Last tenant that was in there, they were there for a few months.
Okay. And you have not moved into that property?
There are things there, and I come and go. When I'm in town, I'll stay there,
Okay.
but
So are you there,
I-
are you there at least once a week?
yes,
Okay. So it's not completely abandoned?
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Gets back to my point, is that if they leave and they want to be out of the mixed use and goes into a family residential, then they sell it, or somebody else wants to buy it, and they want to come back in to become a central business or mixed use, there's going to have to be things done or altered to that facility to meet the specs to be in the new zone. Is that right?
The property doesn't even have a kitchen. There's gonna be a heck of a lot of work that's gonna need to be done to it just for someone to move into it.
To make it residential.
So it's going to be.
And I will add, and I guess what I'll do, so that we'll all kind of stick to it, we'll stay in our lane, so each trustee will have a chance to speak, but I'm gonna lay it out there so that we can kind of say this. You've been in the property at least once a week, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, had people over, stuff like that, correct? And so realistically, it isn't a completely abandoned building and just sitting there ready.
Just started doing that.
So it's not vacant, is my point, though. And from my end, what I'm looking at is what's best for the village of Hartland, and that I do have empathy for the situation that you're in. And I do agree with you also, Mike. The government doesn't want to push its weight around and do different things. At the Plan Commission meeting, and having been there, now maybe this has changed, my main question was, what's the main reason for doing this rezoning? And the answer that I received, and it may have changed, I'm just saying what I heard, the first answer was because it's very difficult to sell as a commercial property, and you put it on the market and you only received one offer, but that offer was $50,000 below what you wanted. Now, in my mind, when I'm thinking about the whole grand scheme of things in Hartland, while the people wouldn't pay the amount that you wanted, there was some interest as a commercial property. Furthermore, just to change the rezoning, just to sell it, stands on its own as that we're changing the zoning just to be able to sell that property. And maybe that's changed. I was saying that the first answer at the Plan Commission meeting. Furthermore, with that, the entire backyard is a blacktop parking lot, and we have certain restrictions that go along with this zoning where you can only have so much room for impervious surface, which this would be far exceed. And so that would have to be changed, and now you're ripping up blacktop. I'm just saying there's a very large cost to that. Along with it, this property does not have a kitchen, and to add on to this, so it would not be able to be moved into as residential now. This building has been built to ADA standards so that people with disabilities can get into it. It meets all the commercial codes, and it's been running as a commercial building for a very long time. So the entirety of you owning it, as you have alluded to.
We were our own tenants. We rented from ourselves.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, so we've really been the occupant for the majority of years. It's been sitting vacant for the last 2 years,
Right.
since 2016. But yes, we were the tenant.
Right. You didn't, well, yes. You did lease it to someone else, did you not? You leased it to someone else while you were living there.
We leased it to Edward Jones.
Yes,
We both worked for Edward Jones.
Correct.
So
correct. But I'm saying, so you had a
we were
long-term
leasing,
lease.
yeah, it was, yeah.
And so, in going off of what I'm saying, also so if it goes to residential, there's a ton of things that have to happen for it to be occupied. If it does not go to residential, you are still able to move into it. According to our code and our zoning, you are still able to move into that property. However, the front portion would have to be open for commercial, and everything would not have to change. There is not an impervious surface restriction due to the back parking lot. There still would have to be a kitchen added if you're gonna make it residential, but I just wanted to lay out for the board so that everybody knows what I'm looking at. This is not, I do feel bad for the situation. I really do. And at the same time, I wanna think about the long term for Hartland, and what I do know is sitting on the board, while the intentions may be to live there for 10 years, what if no one buys it? No one bought it as commercial and it sat there for 2 years. I'm very hesitant, having dealt with and worked in real estate for some time. I've had my realtor license in the past. I can't see someone coming in that you're all of a sudden going to have people knocking down the door to buy a commercial property, which is what it's all designed in. The entranceway to the large multifamily behind that property has constant traffic, so you're probably not going to get people with young children moving in, because you're talking constant in and out without any stop signs, and it's not even a road, it's a driveway. It's an easement. I understand for your situation that it would be extremely advantageous to at least take a chance on the residential aspect. If I thought that there was a chance that you'd be able to, it would help you financially, and maybe it would be better for Hartland, and maybe people would come and buy it for residential, I'd say yes. But from what I'm looking at here, you're trying, the amount of work that has to go into it just to get it residential is very difficult, and even then, there's not a guarantee that it might be able to be purchased. And you've already alluded to that you're getting offers, or at least have gotten an offer for a commercial property, but that it wasn't that it couldn't be purchased, it was just not at the price that you wanted. So in my opinion, for the Village of Hartland and how we plan things and what's designed for that street, it isn't that there isn't any interest in that property. It's just not that there's not interest for what you want for it, and I don't want to put ourselves in the same situation with residential, because it's still going to be the same amount of money if there's a certain amount you're trying to get out of it, I can only presume. So with that, that's just my take on it. It is not a personal thing, but I do have empathy for your situation. In my opinion, which really doesn't have any place here, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that the luck is going to change if this thing flips residential. It's going to take 3 months just to get the contractors in there to do what needs to be done to make it for you to gain occupancy. So with that being said, I yield the floor to any trustee that wants to speak.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
From what you just said, something, are you under the impression, and that she wants it residential so she can sell it residential?
Either or.
Oh, or that she wants it residential just so she can live there?
I'm under the assumption that the entire 3 times at the Plan Commission meetings over the course of the last 90 days, I've heard that this can't be sold as commercial and this property is up for sale. That's what I was told, but also the property, if we flip it to residential today, cannot be, she can't move into it. She's
Right,
gonna
I
have
understand.
days and
I
days and
understand.
days unless she's got a whole crew coming from,
I
you know,
just- I
to
didn't
come
know-
in and redo that whole property. And even then, she may not get it until she's got excavators pulling blacktop out.
I just didn't understand that it was being done to sell it right away.
The basis of my decision is
Okay.
based on more of the facts
Okay.
of what I've said on how it regards to Heartland and occupancy and things of that nature.
Okay, I just got confused there.
I do know in the past in Heartland, we've turned a lot of houses into commercial.
Yes.
However, this it's not like you just flip a switch and this property's ready to be moved into. We cannot forego the rules. So now you have a lot of different stuff that has to be added. Mind you, when all that stuff goes in, if those ADA ramps are pulled out, and if all of a sudden the back lot is pulled up, and all this excavation work is done, it's not like we just sit here on the board and it's like, okay, make it commercial now. Now we have a house in what's gonna be coming the next. We already have one major commercial district that you see on Capitol. We're trying to make this L, which was long-term planning with the village. Do we wanna keep spots open for business, or do we wanna shut that door? Because it'll happen fast. If we do that, and I just wanna think about the village with it, but I do agree with you also, Mike. The government, I don't like to get us in the middle of this kind of thing, but it's very difficult to make that decision to flip it to residential to a property that can't even be moved into today or tomorrow or in a week in a residential standard. Any trustee that'd like the floor. Can
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just seeking clarification. So there was a conversation, they were asking, are you interested in reselling the property once it would be flipped to residential? Or are you interested in living there long-term?
Living there. And to tag on to some of what was just said, I've done some of the legwork already, talking to people about things like functioning kitchen, yard, things like that. And the way you're looking at it, of course, is kind of a generic, you know, it costs you about this amount for a kitchen kind of thing, and that, but there's more than one way to do it, and there are different things that can be done with a yard and a kitchen and a bathroom. So, like I said, I've done some of that legwork already, and I've gotten some really good, positive suggestions based on the fact that the trend right now is for the tiny houses, and the tiny houses in the heart of town. So here you have a property that's, in the heart of town. It's not real huge. The little kitchenette that's been in the building for years kind of has been used as a closet, a computer room, a kitchenette. Really fits into the category of the tiny kitchens because there are examples of this exact thing on the internet that I can access daily, and I can actually clone some of them. And I've gone into a kitchen appliance store, and they've even have a multitude of additional ideas on how you can compact things. So that's not a frightening thing to me at all, the fact that that has to be to code and things like that, because it's doable in the space that's there.
How many parking spots are located in the back of the building?
I think it's about 20 on the blacktop. Might be 18. I don't sit there and count them, I'm sorry. But the blacktop's very worn. It's been used for years, so, if something has to happen to it, it's not gonna crush me that it's not usable in one way or another, so.
And I'm sorry, one more question. I'm new, so pardon me. Can you state what year you purchased the commercial property?
Pardon me?
What year did you purchase the commercial property?
I want to say 2003, I think it was.
Thank you. That's all I have, Jeff.
All right.
Somebody else.
Any other trustees?
Well, go ahead, Jim.
What did the planning commission suggest?
The planning commission sent it to us that we keep the zoning as it is. That was the suggestion of that's not every member, but the collective after the vote was that it stays the way it is for, a lot of the reason that I just tried to allude to.
Well, going back to my original premise, it doesn't matter what they're gonna do with the property. It's their property. I mean, if they wanna live there, they can live there. If they wanna sell it, they can sell it. So the narrative around the property itself is just really the property and then that, where it's gonna stay, or it's gonna leave. And that's a decision of the owner. And the idea that we say, yes, you can take it out and put it in a single family, you got a big investment to get that thing ready so you can live in there. I don't care, many things, I watch TV too, and it's tough. Clutter. And that doesn't really matter to me either, because if it's your property, if it's gonna go down, you go down. If it's gonna go up, you go up. Just because it's in a plan, I mean, there's been places that, properties that were not designed for different usages that have been changed because somebody bought it, somebody had an idea, and they're gonna make it work, so. I don't know, to me, it's just a question of taking it single family or leave it where it is, and whether it, what the reasons are for that is more or less a decision of the village. Do we want to keep, is it that critical to keep that in that zone? Because that's, there's isn't there three other housing units in that 2 or 3 block area?
Housing, like huge, commercials type, multifamily. Yeah, the entranceway to it runs right near the side of this one. And not near it, through it.
But the ones that are just north of them?
Just north, there's 2 residential properties that are to the north.
And
Yeah.
they're residential properties.
Yep.
They were bought as
But-
residential.
Like, my property's zone dual. And I'm right to the north of her. And then the property after that is Liz's property, Liz Tolbert. And that's an apartment building. That's the old Hartland Inn. And she divided that into 3 separate apartments. So she's really using that as an apartment building. And then the property after that is the multifamily apartments. And then the rest is commercial.
So we already have 2 residential basic there.
Mixed use. One.
One house.
One
One
house.
house.
One house.
Okay.
I do have one other question. You said that you had a, it was very short-term, but you had a short-term lease where someone was in there, but then they ended up moving?
Yes, it was the tenant that we inherited when we bought it, and he left the company that he was working for and started his own company with 0 employees and started to hire people and said, I'm aggressively hiring people, but I need space, and made it known right up front it would only be temporary. So they were there for a few months.
So it was
and-
only a commercial lease?
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody that moved in on residential?
Oh, no, it was a commercial lease. They were there, several people would come and go during the
Sure.
day, and they were gone.
Okay.
How large is the residential use? What's the square footage of the?
We came up with that at the meeting,
2,500 square feet.
25, yeah,
For the entire property?
entire
2,500 square feet just for the house.
house.
The house. It's 2-story, right?
It's 2-story, yes.
Anything else from the trustees? The board? So, I'm gonna say something, keep your mind here, that I'm right. It is not appropriate for us to take a negative motion because it makes things very odd. So, unless the administrator guides me or someone else in this room guides me that I'm doing something wrong, I am going to make a motion that the zoning for that property listed
You would make a motion to adopt the ordinance,
to adopt,
on third reading.
I don't want to adopt the ordinance.
I know you don't, but in order to get that action taken,
Okay,
you make a motion to
All right,
adopt
so-
the ordinance,
all right.
which changes the zoning.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to adopt the ordinance. If someone votes for it, it would be to change the ordinance and go from commercial to residential. If anybody votes against it,
Will remain the same.
it would remain the same. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. And this is really, really odd, the reason for it, and I just want to make sure everybody knows. If I make a motion right now to say, keep the zoning the same, this just comes up next meeting again because we haven't done any action on the actual request, and we do have a resolution that this is the third reading of it, so. Is everybody, if anybody has any questions, ask now, ask the administrator right now so everybody knows, because this is confusing.
Do you want a second, so you have a motion on the floor?
Right. Well, yeah, once I have one. I will make the motion to, this is weird, because I've never agreed with this. I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance, or, I'm sorry, it is the ordinance.
Yep.
To adopt the ordinance.
I'll second it.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance, which this is the third reading. Administrator Cox, please.
Sure. So the ordinance you have in front of you is an ordinance to amend the zoning. As President Fanner still pointed out, it would, if you were to adopt the ordinance, that is, all of you voted aye, or a majority of you voted aye, the zoning would change from the current B3 to the requested R3. If you voted nay, it would stay the same. And the Plan Commission has recommended denial, so the Plan Commission encourages you to vote no.
Any other discussion? Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Nay. Did you get it, or do you want a roll call?
Okay.
Got them all? That motion fails. I know that's very confusing, I'm very sorry. No, I mean, the way the vote goes is very, very confusing. Did you have, if you want to say something, you can.
No, I mean, I'm a little bit of a disgruntled taxpayer in this community at this point. But I appreciate your time considering it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item that we have on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of a motion to approve the conditional use permit for Beeble's True Value at 580 Hartbrook Drive for operation of a temporary greenhouse. This is, again, just keep everything in line, this is an item coming to us from the Planning Commission. And,
I'll make a motion that we approve that Beeble's True Value temporary greenhouse, but I'd like to put an addition there for the next 4 years, a 4-year improvement,
Okay. You want, instead of 5?
or 5-year, I'm sorry.
Okay.
5-year improvement,
yeah,
extension for 5 years after we approve it.
that's what, yep, and that's how it was written.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to do a 5-year conditional use permit for Beeble's True Value for the greenhouse, or temporary greenhouse, I'm sorry, so it's temporary, it's not something that's there permanently. Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is a discussion and consideration of a motion to adopt resolution number 04222019-01, a resolution regarding naming the municipal building in honor of Trustee Richard E. Landwehr. I'm debating on if I should just make a motion.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to go ahead and
We
speak?
can talk after, or we can talk
I'll
before.
make a motion to name the municipal building after,
In honor
what?
In honor of Trustee.
In honor of Trustee Landwehr.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt a resolution to rename, or add on to the name, however you want to look at it, the municipal building in honor of Richard Landwehr. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I have some questions. And I respect Dick for all the time he's devoted to the village and all the, the work. And we also do have others that have dedicated time and work for the village. For instance, and I spent over an hour going through the minutes of meetings and couldn't find anything when Karen Compton left. There was no proclamation or anything. But I did find in a newspaper article that since 1967, she had been in the village government, which would make 51 years. Well, no, that'd be 51, I think, as of today. So take 2 years off, that'd be 49. And we didn't do anything there. That's pretty close to the same. And I think that considering the major change to the name of the village hall, maybe we want, and it's nothing against Dick, at all, but maybe we should put a survey out to the citizens since it is their building. So it doesn't get confusing. Or, so we set precedents for years of service or something, if you're here 25 years, you get this. If you're here 40, you get a laser engraved plaque in we call our Hall of Fame or something. Because we're going to run out of buildings if we start doing, we've got DPW people who've been here a long time. Maybe our citizens want to chime in on it. And I'm not saying I'm against it, I just, there's other things to look at also. And again, Karen Compton was somebody who came to my mind that was here a very long time, and she did a lot of work for the library, and, she got a good buy, so. I don't know, I'd like to think about it a little bit more.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak?
My personal opinion is, I don't think there will ever be another Dick. I think that was a situation that Trustee, his years of service, I just think that's something that's in the past of how it is. He dedicated a lot of time, and I know a lot of other people have. I know that I've talked with you about that, and also talked about perhaps us doing some sort of recognition in another way of all of our past people, of whether it be a plaque and putting the names and the time they served from, so people have some history to look at. But I still think it's a good idea.
I would concur with Trustee Doro as well. I think the 53 years of service is what the residents asked for. So in my mind, I'm thinking that, I don't disagree that we can always ask our residents, meaning that this is their village hall as well, but this is what the residents wanted for 53 years, was him being a part of their community. And you can't ask for something better than that. That's remarkable, as well as Trustee Compton as well. But
Yeah, I agree with Trustee Doro too. He was on the board as president and trustee for those 53 years. He wasn't an employee. He was on the board. I mean, he ran Hartland for 53 years. And nobody else has done that. And I believe you stated, we think that it's the longest in the history of Wisconsin that
Quite possibly.
that he's made history. So I think it's perfectly appropriate to name the building after him.
I, having moved here in 2005, and having realized just how wonderful this community is, obviously I'm where I am now, but I wasn't always here. I was raising kids and was just moving here and that kind of thing. And I think that it's important for Hartland. I think it's important for not just the board, because it's, the board, we come and go, but for this community as a whole. Hartland's been around for 126 years. Dick Landwehr has served the community and been elected for half of the time that this village has been in existence. I believe that he is the epitome of what we would only hope, and what I would only hope for myself, that I could be to a community, and I'll guarantee you right now I won't be. I will be off doing the things that I want to do at some point, and not coming and serving the community, even though I'm so proud to do so. But to have someone where it's so ingrained, and there's many others that are just like Dick, there's no doubt, that love the community just as much, that care about the community and want to make it great. But one of the biggest things that I feel that we lack as a community is my pride and jealousy in the people that have been born and raised Hartland. I love it when I hear people say third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation Hartland. And while this may come across like it's only advocating for one person, that's not what it is. What it's doing is taking out a chisel, or putting up a sign, if you will, or renaming a building to preserve that history, so my kids and their grandkids, if they're still in Hartland, can look at something and ask, why do they name that building that? Or why is his name on the building? So that they can ask those questions and we can preserve the history. There's other communities, if you go out to Massachusetts, every community started in the 1700s, some of them the 1600s, right? But there's so much history there, but they preserve it and they're proud of it. Hartland is a community that used to be small, but it isn't anymore. And there is so much history, and there's so much to be proud of, and there's so much that people should enjoy, and there's so much that people should love. And I think pulling out the chisel, instead of just throwing up a piece of wood that has something etched in where that will rot and fade, and starting a process, as Trustee Walschlager had said, of actually honoring some of these people that have been around for a long time, I think that it is, without a doubt, the appropriate thing to do for Hartland. Nixon Park is Nixon Park because Mr. Nixon donated the land for the park. It was so huge for Hartland that they named Nixon Park after him. We need to continue that trend. This isn't the first time we're naming something. And at the same time, I will go off of the statements that were made. We're never going to fill up Hartland with buildings and run out of naming buildings or buildings to name if we don't start with the first one. And we have a lot of buildings. We haven't started with the first one. In my opinion, and I'd say this humbly, that Dick Landwehr, I love the guy, and this isn't just because of some personal thing. I cannot think of a better way to honor Hartland and the office and the people that have been elected and sat across the street in a building I never saw and sat doing ordinance committees and things like that, or a gentleman that watched when there was a constable, one constable, keeping track of everything in Hartland. He's part of our history, and there's a lot of people that are, and I would like to see us continue to honor them. But I personally would like to start with Dick. I have never seen someone, I've never run into someone the entire time I've lived here that has such a love and a deep-seated, I mean, ingrained in his veins and his blood, love for this village and this community. And I believe that it is appropriate. I believe that it's good for our posterity. And I think that it is an amazing thing that we can do for an amazing person that gave so much and soon will be gone. A lot of times people wait until someone has hit the coffin and goes 6 feet down. Having a father, and maybe this plays into it a little bit, died when I was 20 years old, and I can't tell you how many posthumous awards I've gotten for him because he was a big wrestling coach. And all you stand up there at that podium and think is, wow, I wish he was here so he could see it. There's nothing that makes that man more proud other than probably his wife and his kids, and it'll be seeing that name, and I'd like him to see it before he dies. We owe it to him. The community owes it to him. And yes, there are probably many others we owe it to also, but we have to start with one. 1,000-mile walk starts with the first step, and this is that one. So that's what I have to say.
Let's call the question.
I would like to add to that as well. So, President Vanderstel, you talked quite a bit about the history. I think what it does is it preserves the ability for Trustee Landwehr to be a part of the future. And I think that that's what's really important here. As we continue to preserve our history, it's because we want it to be a part of the future.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
If anybody doesn't have anything else that's been requested, we call the question. All in favor of the renaming? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of actions related to possible relocation of the Ice Age Trail route in downtown.
I just happen to have some maps. Make a couple. You know, Dick and I have sat on this board for 54, I guess maybe yes. We've talked about going through this alley, through a dark place that didn't have lights and had lights, and then we wanted to put a driveway in there, we didn't want to put a driveway in there. Now we want to put $60,000, we want to put in a whole new driveway. There's grease tubs or whatever they are out there. They're not enclosed or anything. They're just laying out there. So I just looked around, and if you look at that, the pink line is where, I'm sorry, you can't tell the colors out there. There's a pink, it says it goes from the library. It goes from the east side of the library, and it cuts up, and it goes up Haight Street. It goes into the alley. What I think we should do is do one of two things. Either rather than going to the right out of the library, we go left, and maybe go to that first parking lot that we can walk between the gas station and the pharmacy. There's some steps there. Make a left, go to the stop sign where it's controlled intersection. Go across that street there. That's never going to be blocked off. It's never going to be smelly. Go up to the middle of the M&I parking lot. There's a walkway right in the middle, dividing the two areas where the cars park. Walk down that, and it enters the Ice Age Trail right where the bridge comes out. I just don't see anything wrong with it. We don't have to worry about anything. It's because it's on areas that are always going to be shoveled. It's on areas that are safe. They're on the street. They're not going in alleys. They're not going in places that they shouldn't be going. The other one is if you didn't want to take that, go through the parking lot and going up that way, is going to the corner up by Beer Snobs, coming down the road, go to the stop sign again, and then cut across the street. But I'm just tired of hearing that we've got it's $60,000, $70,000, we're gonna do all this work, but none of the owners of the building wanna pay anything. I just can't see for the taxpayers, for us to put money into their other people's driveways. And I think if we just make those little adjustments, and what those little adjustments are gonna be, is those little Ice Age signs that we put up. And I talked to M&I, and they're really excited about it, and asked if you want us to put up a sign. You know, so I just think I'm just tired of talking about this greasy old alleyway in a bridge that nobody can get across if they are, need help. And I think going one of the two ways around is going to make some more sense.
Mike, who owns the stairs there by the drugstore?
I don't know, is that part of the,
I think it's common ground.
I don't know.
Is it Village?
No,
No?
it's probably one of the owners, probably the building that that Hometown
Oh, okay.
Pharmacy is in.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, and if that is a problem, then we just walk
I
around.
just don't wanna run into another issue where it gets run down and then
Sure.
we're back where we are now.
That's why that dotted line there going around the, the village streets.
Just basically use the sidewalks to come
And
in.
the
Yeah.
words are
So
Which I
my
appreciate.
question, two questions is, one, don't we have to do the driveway anyways, isn't that village? Or if we went around, we wouldn't have to worry about that driveway between Palmer's and the Silver Leash?
It'd be up to the trustees. The village promised it. If we want to back out on it, we can.
So to be clear, it's not an alley. The village has an easement
Correct.
for use of that space for pedestrian access to the parking lot at North Avenue.
Okay.
And that's why we have, for I don't know how many years, been a 1/3 partner in the maintenance back there, primarily snow plowing and those kinds of things.
So that's not gonna change?
Well, say
I mean,
money,
unless
won't
we would
plow.
change it.
Would we plow them?
Well, the question would then become
unless
whether
we
the
change the whole
bridge
thing.
that's there would continue to exist. You've just ordered a new bridge there.
I was gonna say we just ordered, that was my next question.
And if that were to continue, presumably we would still send people down there for at least parking lot access, but
So
we
then
can deal
would
with
still
that.
be responsible.
How many cars can you park down there? 3 or 4?
No.
With those dumpsters in there?
Oh, he's talking about the public parking lot to get access across
Right.
the bridge.
Oh, across the bridge, oh, no.
So no matter what, we would still be
matter what, we're
responsible
still
for
gonna
that
be
driveway
responsible for the
and for the bridge.
So, I agree with the things that are being said, but because it's the rerouting of the Ice Age Trail, I guess it's important in what you said, Donna, and Dave, what you said. The Ice Age Trail doesn't separate us from having to pay the money in that area. We've already ordered a new bridge. However, right now, we're talking about the Ice Age Trail. So I think that it'd be appropriate, in my opinion, if we're gonna make a decision on the Ice Age Trail, that we not make it without going to the Ice Age Trail Committee, so that's where it should be kicked to. If they want to change that, that does not change what the village has to pay for this alleyway and the fact that we kicked the can down the road before Administrator Cox was even here, where he actually nicely went and dug and found stuff that they had before 2011, before he was even here, where they had made promises and proposed stuff to the businesses, and then the village was the one for all these years saying no. Now it's saying yes, but the other businesses had already spent money from their budgets. I don't think it's fair to portray them that they just all of a sudden are saying, no, we're not gonna pay for it. That wasn't, they've said yes for 8 or 9 or 10 years, or whatever, 8 years. But we didn't come through on our end, or at least that's the way it looks on paper. I don't know.
Opportunity to talk to one of the gentlemen on the board for the Ice Age Trail, and they were talking about moving the Ice Age Trail, instead of coming through the alley down by Birch and Banyan,
Yeah, to the other way.
so to the other side.
It's another nice route, but I think that it'd be appropriate that we kind of send it back to them and say, okay, the board, it's been brought up, it's on the agenda, that, I think that's a proper play. I'd like to hear their opinion on it and their input on it.
agree.
My thought was going to the public streets, they're always shoveled. We go to the other areas, go down to the parking, going through somebody's parking lot, then we're going through somebody else's property that we can't really maintain.
Right,
And, but we've been kicking this dog down the alley for a long time.
right.
We've gotta make a
That's not
decision.
gonna change.
Is the walkway in
Yes.
BMO's parking lot public, or is that on their property? Is
That's
that
on
their
their-
walkway?
It's on their property that they have no problem with us walking down it.
They could say, stop walking through here at any time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But right now, they're saying it's fine. Well, I don't know if they would be okay with the Ice Age Trail, now that
Right.
they're gonna be on a map and it
With more
opens up.
people.
We would have to consult with them and their
Right.
security, that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
first it should go to Ice Age. We would have to consult with them.
Like I said, I talked to the M&I, the manager of the bank, and they thought it was a great idea.
Right, no, and that's what I'm
Right.
saying, we would just get clear.
No, I like
But it
the
sounds like
route.
it's just fine.
I think it's a good route. I think it's even better than if we were to go through by Birch and Banyan. Because like Mike said, we're taking all public sidewalks that are gonna be clean, they're,
Control
Right.
intersections.
it's more
Safer.
controlled. So I think that's a great route. The only problem I can foresee is corporate, BMO Harris saying, hey,
Right,
we
because
don't
it
want
is
the
a,
liability.
Right.
exactly, all those people going through.
So if we can get some type of an agreement, after we go to the Ice Age Trail, obviously, but then if
Yeah,
they
they might have
okay
other
this, we'd have to get some type of agreement that would release them of liability.
Right. I think it's appropriate to at least get it back to the Ice Age Trail
Right.
I mean, we don't know, I mean, there's certain things that we're not thinking of that, I mean, and I'm not saying it's just me.
Oh, yeah.
They might say, well, you guys, we have 487,000 pamphlets that are out there showing the trail this.
Right.
I think it's proper that we send it to the committee, but if we're going to change it, we can start gearing up for it. I just think that's a proper first step. If that makes sense. And then have their opinion and let them come back up to us.
I like your ideas, Mike, to look at it.
Thank you, so
Yeah.
do I.
Thank you.
I'm just tired. How long have we beat this cat up, you know? Jeez. Let's just get it done.
So, we would make a, do you wanna make a motion?
You could.
We have to make a
You could make a
motion.
motion. That
I'll make a
always
motion that
deals
this
with-
be sent back to the Ice Age Trail, including the map that, we were given, the
Yep.
color form, obviously, with the highlighted color lines, and, if you could kind of reiterate the conversation to them, but that this should be, sent to the Ice Age, Trail Committee, I believe is the name.
Ice Age Trail Community Committee.
The Ice Age Trail Community Committee, and we would get their, see what they come up with, and that they could get something back to us within 60 days,
I
hopefully.
second.
It's been moved and seconded to send this issue to them for their consultation, to the Ice Age Trail Community Committee. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. That'll be sent to them, and
Copyright on that map.
Did you want it back?
You can have
What's your fee?
it'll be in the
next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of a motion to approve an agreement with the City of Waukesha City Attorney's Office to serve as outside prosecutor for as provided in the letter dated April 4th, 2019. I'll make a motion that we do such.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve an agreement with the City of Waukesha City's Attorney's Office to serve as outside prosecutor for as provided in the letter dated April 4th, 2019. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda, we have discussion and consideration of a motion to adopt Resolution 04222019-02, existing employer update resolution, Wisconsin Public Employers Group Health Insurance Program.
Everybody saw in the packets, the Wisconsin Department of Employee Trust Funds made some changes to their manuals, combining everything, thus making our old agreement for our state health plan out of date. So they just want this new resolution passed. Nothing is changing. We're not paying any more. We're not paying any less. It's just rolling everything into one amended resolution. That's all.
I motion, I make a motion that we approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to
Adopt resolution.
to approve that, and, sorry, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution for Wisconsin Public Employers Group Health Insurance Program. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Next item, we have a discussion and consideration of actions related to solicitation of Sorry, my apologies, I've done this before, I promise I have. I've made the mistake before I'm talking about. Discussion and consideration of a motion to approve the 2020 budget preparation schedule as was included in the packet. I'm sorry.
I guess the big thing is just make sure all the dates are actually correct. I mean, even if you approve it, I can come back if there is a date that doesn't work for everybody, but try and take a peek, make sure those dates, I guess the key dates would be the capital improvement discussion, and then our 2 days of board discussions that we have. So, hopefully all the dates are correct.
Make a motion to approve the schedule.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget schedule. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. If anybody here has their windows open, I suggest you walk to the parking lot. It sounds like it's getting a little wet outside, or it's going to be getting wet very soon. Next item on the agenda is discussion and consideration of actions related to solicitation of proposals for consulting services related to village administrator replacement. I know that there was some confusion on this item, or at least I got one call on it, and I just wanted to say, what this is doing is allowing the village staff, be it whether it's Mr. Bailey, or whether it is Clerk Eigel, or whether it is even Administrator Cox himself. It's letting the companies that are in the area that do this for a living and do it on a consistent basis, finding high-level government people. This is what they do. These organizations focus on just this, but letting them know to come back at us, it's a request for a proposal. What can they do for us? What would you charge? That type of thing, so that we can get this going. We don't want to sit for too long, obviously, without someone in that administrator's seat. So that's what this is for. It's not making a decision in any way, shape, or form, or anything like that. It's a request for a proposal from the companies that do this, that are within the area, that would be in close driving distance, which is, I'd say, within 2 hours. The ones that were within 2 hours that could get here and, could come and talk to the board if we were to say, hey, we like your proposal, we want to talk more. Just wanted to let you know that's what it is. It's a staffing agency for really smart people. Or a headhunter for really smart people.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yeah, because they got to have clearance to go and do it.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to solicit proposals for consulting services for the village administrator replacement. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is consideration of board, commission, and committee appointments as presented by Village President Jeff Vanderstill, myself. Here's what we got. Each one of you were given a list. I'm just letting you know there's going to be a wave now. There will be another wave at our next meeting of me bringing them forward to see if the board will approve them. At the next meeting, it will be before each of those committees, if you understand, where other people will be getting put. It will be before their first meeting, so we're not sitting with empty seats. So for Park and Recreation Board, citizen appointment is Tim Hallquist for a term ending April 30th, 2022. Another citizen appointment is Peggy Kallenberger for a term ending April 30th, 2022. And a trustee appointment for Trustee Connor for a term as a representative from the village board as trustee for a term ending April 30th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve your appointments.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Park and Recreation Board appointments for Hallquist, Kallenberger, and Connor. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Continuing on, Ms. Lupnow is our Police and Fire Commissioner now. I'd like to see her continue, so I'm bringing it to the board for your approval or disapproval, depending on how you feel.
I make a motion to keep Mrs. Lopnow as our Fire and Police Commission. Oh, can't talk tonight.
We know what you mean.
Fire and
PFC.
Police Commission.
I second.
It's been moved
I'll
and
take care of your
seconded to
misery.
appoint Susan Lupnow. This is, just so everybody knows, I don't know if I included this, this is for a term ending April 30th, 2024. So this is a long one because remember, this is supposed to be a subset, kind of separate from us, keeping everything in check. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. You'll see on this, I know we don't have it in the agenda, but it says pending appointments are for Plan Commission, Board of Review, Delhart Commission, and Library Board. Those will be at the next meeting. Okay. Announcements.
I guess I'd like to bring up, I want to thank the people, the organizations that worked on the Bark River. Made a little note of some of the people, the Kiwanis Club, and I believe David got quite a bit of hours working on the river cleanup.
I did.
The fire department and the police and the fire chief, the DPW we gave one, we assigned one person there, but others showed up. There was neighbors, the Ice Age Trail was there, the Ice Age Alliance, and they're volunteers from the high school. And if you can ever go up by Centennial Park and just look down there, it's just beautiful. I mean, what they did was just outstanding. And that's one of our major assets, and I have to get that river running, and it's really good. But I wanted to thank everybody that came out and spent last Saturday and did a lot of work, and Then we'll see you again in another couple Saturdays.
Yeah. There is more work to be done, so, and I will echo Mike, there were quite a number of people there, probably at least 60, if not more than that. Residents and others, as you mentioned, Mike, that came out and really did a lot of work. We had to almost slow people down because we were getting so much done. There are more trips out there to come, though, so get your waiters out and be ready to come.
Any other announcements?
Well, that was like Chips when Dr. Mensenberger were here. They did a lot of,
Right.
a lot of planning.
And hopefully, and I'll mention to them to come and say something if they know the date a month and a half before to kind of present,
Yeah.
and maybe even then the week before, because it does
It
seem
takes a
like
lot
we
of
get
organization
volunteers
to
that
get all
come
those
down
people.
there, and it sounds like it was fantastic, and I'm sorry I missed it. Chief?
President, how you doing? Just had a couple quick things. Update on our live scan fingerprint device it was signed after it was approved by the board. That's all been sent into the Department of Justice and ultimately confirmed and approved. Purchase order's been cut, and we're hoping to get that in the next 3 to 4 weeks from the vendor. So hopefully we'll be live with that in the next month or so. And then also, I sent an email to all the trustees regarding a large police response incident we had this past Saturday, where a individual working on some home repairs for a private contractor was wanted by the U.S. Marshal Service, and then ultimately had took off on foot from the Marshal Task Force. We ultimately assisted the Marshal Task Force with that, and were able to locate that subject in pretty short order and take him into custody without any incident. So if you do get any calls in regards to that, please feel free to forward them to me, but there is no longer any danger to that area. Thank you.
We've come a long way from having just a constable, I see.
I see.
I have one, I just wanted to seek clarification of the spelling of Bethany's name for the bartender's license. It's not correct in the one thing.
Okay.
So if we can just make that change, please.
She probably has a B in there, or an E rather.
There is, it's missing the E.
Right.
It's just BTH.
Yeah. But just,
Okay.
However, the form itself may.
Okay. Thank you.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Can I say one thing before we adjourn? Well, I can't, I guess.
No, go ahead.
It supersedes everything, so I can't. I wanted to say I'm out of order right now, so if you slam me at that. I just want to welcome Robyn and Rick.
Yes.
Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
I think that we'll all,
Thank you.
it's just a continuation of things going on, but welcome to Trustee Walshager. Congratulations on winning again for your, this is the fourth term? Fourth term. So, and with that, it's been moved and seconded that this meeting be adjourned. All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.